This evening, council is grateful to have Pastor Samson Umasi from the Columbus Ghanaian Seventh-day Adventist Church to pray with us. And Pastor Umasi is also here on his birthday. So thank you so much for being here and happy birthday.
Shall we have a word of prayer? Our Father in heaven, we thank you for this day. And we thank you that your children can come and do business for our dear city, Columbus. We pray for your presence. We pray for your spirit to be here. Be with our president. Give him the knowledge and the wisdom to chair this meeting. Above all, help so that the decisions we make today benefit our city and its citizens. Bless each and everyone who has come here, for we pray in Jesus' name. Amen.
Amen. Thank you so much, Pastor. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bankston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden. Any person who takes any actions to obstruct or interfere with the conduct of tonight's meeting may be charged with disturbing a lawful meeting pursuant to Columbus City Code 2317.12. Any person who enters those areas of city council chambers reserved for city officials or invited guests may be charged with criminal trespass pursuant to Columbus City Code 2311.21.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Can I get a motion to dispense with the journal? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bankston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Are there any additions or corrections to the journal? Hearing none, the journal is approved. This week's communications received by the city clerk's office are listed on the agenda and will be published in the bulletin. Are there any other communications to be read into the record?
Not at this time.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Are there any resolutions or announcements by members of council, starting with Councilmember Bankston? Councilmember Barosa de Padilla?
Yes, I do have two quick announcements. First, I just want to say thank you for all the folks who came out for the parade for Veterans Week last week. And we're also there was a concert, there was all kinds of great events. So I just wanted to give a shout out for all the folks who were present and participating in those activities. Also, we just closed 614 beautiful applications. We got 28 applications in. And next month, we will be announcing the recipients of those. So very excited. So want to also shout out the organizations that submitted applications. So next, I have a resolution. So folks want to move forward while I read the preamble. I'd like to introduce Resolution 0225X 2022 to recognize and celebrate the accomplishments of the 2022 Age-Friendly Columbus and Franklin County Innovation Center Scholars. Age-Friendly Columbus and Franklin County Innovation Center, an initiative of the Ohio State University College of Social Work, was created to support older adults through research, education, and engagement to ensure inclusion and build resiliency to make communities more age-friendly. The initiative has prioritized student engagement through internships, which we hope to have one next year, course collaboration, and student jobs. In 2022, the Age-Friendly Innovation Center launched the Scholars Program as its signature student engagement. The Scholars Program brings together an interdisciplinary group of graduate and undergraduate students to gain an understanding of aging, the international age-friendly movement, and practical work experience with multidisciplinary leaders. So I'm excited to have this cohort here. They're amazing. We have a neuroscientist. We have folks who have worked in politics. We have literally the span of people who in their majors and going into their masters or finishing their masters. So I want to invite Marisa Sheldon to speak on behalf of the cohort.
Thank you so much, Council President Harden, Council President Pro Tem, and Councilmember Barosa de Padilla and the rest of Council for the opportunity to be here and the recognition of our scholars, as well as support for the older adult community across Columbus. My name is Marisa Sheldon. I'm the Director of Age-Friendly Columbus in Franklin County, the Age-Friendly Innovation Center. We are a program of the Ohio State University College of Social Work. I am joined today by our Assistant Director, Christine Happel, our Program Coordinator, Unhasa, and some of our Age-Friendly Innovation Center scholars. Since joining the World Health Organization and AARP network of age-friendly communities in 2016, the collaboration and support of Columbus City Council has been invaluable. We would not be here without the commitment and the collaboration. The mission of the Age-Friendly Innovation Center is to innovate with older adults through research, education, and engagement to ensure inclusion and build resiliency to make our communities more age-friendly. All of this work is grounded in principles of diversity, equity, and inclusion, accessibility, community engagement, and interdisciplinary collaboration. I believe that the Age-Friendly Innovation Center's Scholars Program is the perfect nexus of our mission and our guiding principles. Since 2016, we have engaged with nearly 150 students across 20 different disciplines. Building off these engagements, we established the Scholars Program in 2021, and this year is brought to you through your support. Our goal is to have each student leave with having gained a full understanding of working with older adults and the knowledge of how to apply this to anywhere they go with their career, no matter what professional role they land in. This year's cohort is engaged with partners across the Aging Network, like the Central Ohio Area Agency on Aging, the Central Ohio Transit Authority, the Urban Aging Residents Coalition, the American Red Cross, the Greater Columbus Network of Villages, and more. They have done research around older adults experiencing homelessness, LGBTQ+ older adults, older new Americans, inclusive and accessible transit, age-friendly communities across the globe, and more. The impact and work will be felt by residents for many years to come and ripple throughout our community. Their passion and commitment to this work is unparalleled, and I believe you are looking at the next generation of leaders in aging, and I just want to express my gratitude again for formally having you recognize that, fostering this passion, and just recognizing their leadership potential so early in their career. The age-friendly work is a collective effort of our staff, our students, our funders, but most importantly, our older residents. If you're interested in learning more about our work or engaging, do not hesitate to reach out to me at sheldon.127@osu.edu. And just again, thank you.
So are there any questions or comments from my colleagues?
Thank you.
I just want to say, and I said this, we had a roundtable beforehand, but I think that culture change is really like mindset change. And so I think that once we start to think of our older adults, which is the goal for all of us really, is to have that distinction of being an older adult, is that we are really thinking about systems change because it's part of the process, because you have already ingrained that in whatever you go on to do after this program. So thank you again. Thank you for all the work that you do every day. With that, I move for adoption.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Pass.
Thank you.
Adopt.
That's all for me, sorry.
You're fine. Pres Pro Tem, and thank you, Pres Pro Tem, for last week covering for me as my family and I were out of the country. So, thank you. Councilmember Dorans. Councilmember Remy. Wow. Well, speaking of that, I don't have any resolutions, but I do want to congratulate our Pres Pro Tem on the recent announcement that she will be the next CEO of the YWCA. Congratulations, Pres Pro Tem. It is a position well earned, and seeing you, having the opportunity to work with you for the last 8 years here at council, I know that this is 100% in your personal passion area, and you've been doing that work for a long time already. So you will have a council and a community that is really rooting for you and willing and ready to partner with you and support all the work that you will do fighting to end racism and support women in our community. So congratulations.
Thank you. That was the joke I was trying to make about any time.
I got
But then
it.
it was awkward because, thank you for the acknowledgement.
Does any of my other
President Harden.
colleagues have anything to say? We will start. Yeah. We certainly will take the time at the end of this year to celebrate President Pro Tem and thank her for the work. I will say that on the process side of things, we've already started to get inquiries about who will help finish out Pres Pro Tem's term on council. And for folks, we just want folks to know that there is a process that we will outline very shortly for folks on how we will go through that process. It is in our charter around really specific steps that we will have to take. I will just speak for myself in saying that as we think about someone to fill the huge shoes of Pres Pro Tem in this 12-month period, that we certainly will be looking to rely on someone who, with experience, someone who will serve just for the 12-month period. We don't need someone to run for that race, but somebody who really can caretake and help us do the hard work but meaningful work of helping us serve our residents. And so that's personally what I'll be looking for that person who would step up for that short period of time. But again, congratulations, Pres Pro Tem, and we look forward to celebrating you and supporting you in your new role. Are there any other comments from elected officials? Are there any requests from council members for the removal of an ordinance from the consent action portion of the agenda? Seeing none, may we now have a motion to waive reading of titles of third-day legislation? Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Will the clerk now read into the record? Did I second clerk call the roll? Okay, will we now read into the record the ordinance numbers of third-day legislation on tonight's agenda?
Economic Development Committee, ordinances 2913, 2971, 3009-2022, 3019-2022. Public Service and Transportation Committee, ordinances 2966 and 3047-2022. Veterans and Senior Affairs Committee, ordinance 2884-2022. Public Utilities Committee, ordinances 2833, 2909, 2929, 2975, 2997, 3030, 3041-2022. Housing Committee, ordinance 3066-2022. Health and Human Services Committee, ordinances 2945, 3031-2022. Environment Committee, ordinance 3108-2022. Rules and Reference Committee, ordinances 3036, 3037, 3038-2022. Zoning Committee, ordinances 3039, 2693, 3040, 3046, 3132, 3134, and 3136-2022.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Do we have any speakers on the? We do? Thank you. We have one speaker on first reading, Mr. Nate Wilkins, speaking in support of ordinance 3066-2022 in the Housing Committee.
(1612) Arlington Avenue, Mr. Nathaniel George Wilkins. I'm going to speak in favor of this. I believe I pulled up the wrong information, but I believe it's 498 South Hague Avenue. I thought it was Ogden Avenue, but I don't know what the property looked like, but it seemed like this property had sit in the land bank for decades and time after time again. And we just don't want to forget about the young folks or the disability people out there. If this is an empty lot, we want to put affordable housing on this empty lot, not to be used for a side expansion or adjacent to the next property owner. We want something in the state of Ohio that's going to be exactly affordable rent under $550 a month. You know, I don't know what this is going to look like. Like I said, again, I haven't got a chance to pull up the property from the Franklin County Auditor's website. So again, I am all for this, but we want to stabilize that community as putting some type of housing that people can afford. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Wilkins, for your continued advocacy. Are there any questions or comments regarding Mr. Wilkins' testimony or the first reading? Seeing none, the following ordinance appear on our agenda as consent actions. Will the clerk now read those into the record?
Resolution of Expression 229X-2022, Economic Development Committee Resolution 220X-2022, Ordinances 2721, 2740, 2742, 2743, 2745, 2839, 2924, 2934, and 3104-2022. Technology Committee, Ordinances 2865, 2875, 2947, 3026-2022. Public Service and Transportation Committee, ordinances 2835, 2849, 2862, 2940, 2946, 2949, 2968, 2969-2022. Neighborhoods and Immigrant, Refugee, and Migrant Affairs Committee, ordinances 2928, 2955-2022. Finance Committee, ordinances 2819, 2885, 2925, 2944, 2967, 3005, 3027-2022. Recreation and Parks Committee, ordinance 2512-2022. Public Utilities Committee, ordinances 2514, 2530, 2825, 2840, 2866, 2871, 2872, 2873, 2914, and 3048-2022. Housing Committee, ordinances 2861, 2863, 2874, 2894, 2898, 2899, 2917, 2918, 2921, 3071-2022. Criminal Justice and Judiciary Committee, ordinance 2168-2022. Public Safety Committee, ordinances 2548, 2915, 2930, 2950-2022. Administration Committee, ordinance 2853 and 2858-2022. Appointments from the Mayor's Office numbered A0223, 224, 225, 226, 227, 228, 229, 230, 231, 232, 233, 234, and 238-2022.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Are there any questions or comments on the consent portion of the agenda? Seeing none, may I now have a motion for approval of these items? Clerk, please call the row.
Mr. Bankston,
Yes, with the exception of Resolution 0229X-2022 and Ordinance 2944-2022, from which I'm abstaining.
Ms. Barosa de Padilla,
Yes.
Ms. Brown, Mr. Dorans, Mr. Remy, President Harden.
Yes. The consent portion of the agenda is passed. We will now proceed with second reading of 30-day postponed and emergency legislation. The first committee coming for council is the Rules and Reference Committee. Councilmember Dorans, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. We are going a little out of order tonight to accommodate some of our speakers, so thank you for doing so.
I was confused.
I caught the
but-
surprise tone of your voice, so thank you for that. I want to invite our guests here up to the podium as I read ordinance number 3086-2022 to enact new chapter 378 of the Columbus City Codes pertaining to the creation of the Community Benefit Agreement Advisory Committee. The purpose of this ordinance is to enact Chapter 378 in the Columbus City Codes, creating the Community Benefits Advisory Committee. The committee will review plans for large construction, alteration, and renovation projects for city-owned buildings or structures to determine whether a community benefit agreement would improve the project and its purposes. Such an agreement might include stipulations regarding the labor force, the use of the structure, or mitigation of the effects of construction on the community or environment. While the role of the committee is advisory in nature, Council is introducing this new chapter city code to promote greater focus on community benefits during the creation, procurement, and construction process for large development projects owned by the City of Columbus. The Office of the Mayor, Department of Finance and Management, and other departments of the City of Columbus will work to keep the committee apprised of upcoming qualifying projects that they may provide recommendations to the Office of Mayor in a timely fashion. This new chapter will promote a diverse workforce, efficient construction timelines, greater consideration of environmental impacts, and overall community benefits related to large city construction projects and renovation projects and other structures. We have two speakers here this evening with us who I would like to invite to the podium. We have NAACP Chapter President Nana Watson and Dorsey Hager, the Executive Secretary of the Columbus Building and Construction Trades Council. In addition to these two being some of my two favorite people in Columbus, their relationship and collaboration is part of a long history of organized labor, working with the civil rights movement to provide economic opportunities for folks in need. And it's just great to see the two of them here tonight with us as we talk about this legislation that creates this committee. This has been a long time coming. We've all of us have been in meetings on this topic around community benefit agreements going back even before I was on council. So being here tonight, talking about this creation of this committee, formalizing a process in order for these things to happen on a more regular basis, and to have key stakeholders like the building trades and the NAACP here with us means the world to me, and I think says a lot about the relationship between labor and the civil rights movement here in Columbus. So with that, because I'm a smart man, I'm going to invite President Watson to give remarks first, and then Secretary Treasurer Hager after her.
Thank you so much, Councilperson Dorrance. And let me just say to President Harden, thank you so much for moving this up on the agenda, because I know you love both of us dearly. So let me just get to why I'm here. I'm Nana Watson. You know, I'm the president of the oldest and boldest civil rights organization in America. And to you, Council President Harden, Council Pro Tem Liz Brown, so proud of you. I thought I'd get that in. So anyway, this legislation is a historical moment for our city. President Harden, Councilman Dorrance, you are a part of that history. We appreciate and thank you for working with the NAACP in building trades in the establishment of Community Benefits Agreement Advisory Board. And I smile when I say that, because we all have worked so hard. The Community Benefits Agreement Advisory Council will embrace diversity and inclusion as it relates to construction projects in our city. It is our hope you will share this model with other cities. We believe this advisory board will help increase diversity and inclusion efforts of other cities. And it's necessary on construction projects. Thank you so much for making our dream a reality. Thank you so very much. Oh, so sweet.
So President Watson reminded me she has a meeting tonight, so I'm going to keep this quick, and she slashed all the jokes in one-liners. So President Brown, or Pro Tem Brown, you're spared tonight. I won't be here for the end of the roast, but I do want to tell you congratulations on your new job. You're going to do wonderful things at the YWCA, not just for the YWCA and the women there, but all women of Columbus and all residents of our community. So congratulations, so proud of you. Members of council, Barosa de Padilla, Nick Bankston, Manuel Remy, Rob Dorrance, thanks again for letting me be here. President Harden, thank you so much. Just to echo President Watson's comments, and I was thinking driving over here today what I was going to say, and obviously I don't have anything prepared. But the reason why these community benefit agreements are so important is because of what she talked about. You know, project labor agreements are great because they guarantee a project's done on time, under budget, and done safely. These community benefit agreements take it a step farther. They make sure that community leaders like President Watson, leaders in the building trades, and leaders in the community are going to work together to make sure that diversity is included and that there's aspirational goals set not only for local hiring, but for females, people of color, veterans, and everybody here in the community. And I'll leave you with this one last thing, and I promise I'm going to keep it brief. But the last CBA we did was on the Linden Rec Center. And our apprenticeship readiness program, Building Futures, which you all know about, we took people from Building Futures, we took people from the community that were thinking about the building trades but weren't sure. And when you took members of the community, specifically the Linden neighborhood, females, people of color, people that lived in that zip code and lived in our Celebrate One neighborhoods, it's easy to talk about what a career in the building trades can do. But when you walk them on that project and they see men and women from their neighborhood that look like them, go to church with them, their kids go to school with them, then it's real. It's something that they can see, it's something that they can touch, and it makes it believable. And it makes our jobs easier, helping them get on that path to the direct path to the middle class. And you are on that team as well, and you guys are leading this city. Appreciate all that you do for the city and the community and the building trades and all the residents here in Columbus and Central Ohio. So thank you all so very much.
Thank you very much, both President Watson and Secretary Treasurer Hager. I do want to pause and thank President Harden for his work and his staff on getting us to where we are now. Just want to pause and see if you have anything to add.
No, I was just going to say thank you to you, Rob, for your leadership, certainly to Dorsey and to Ms. Nana, and all those folks that worked. I also give a shout out to the administration. To Dorsey's point, the city has done a couple CBAs, specifically with Linden, and we have the proof that shows that it works. And so it's good to transition from a one-off to more of an expectation when we move forward. And I think that this advisory group will help us get there as a community. But it took a lot of work over the last year or so to get us here. And so thank you so much for your leadership and a good process. I'm a process person. I think that we heard from everybody. We worked, and now we get to vote tonight. So thank you.
Thank you, President Hardy. I want to particularly shout out Barry Pickett, the labor liaison for the mayor's office, who did an excellent job, I think, corralling everyone within the administration to get comments to make sure that this got set up correctly in a way that I think long-term will benefit the community well. And with that, I will move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorance, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you so much.
Congratulations.
I will turn it back to you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next committee to come before council is the Finance Committee chaired by the President Pro Tem.
Thank you, President Harden. Tonight in Finance, we have ordinance 2887-2022 to authorize a transfer between projects within the Safety Bond Fund and to amend the 2022 capital improvements budget to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to issue a purchase order to W.W. Williams Midwest Incorporated for engine and body repairs for Fire Ladder 24 for the Division of Fire, to waive competitive bidding requirements of City Code 329, to expend $53,430.29 from the Safety Bond Fund, and to declare an emergency. Columbus Fire Ladder 24 needs emergency repairs to its out-of-warranty engine and needs to return to providing frontline response as quickly as possible. For this reason, a bid waiver has been requested. Any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorance, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Next is ordinance 2973-2022 to authorize and direct the city auditor to provide for the transfer of $3,827,313 within the general fund, to transfer $8,156,746 in appropriations between objects in certain non-general fund departments and divisions, and to declare an emergency. This ordinance is part of a standard third quarter financial review process that identifies surpluses and deficits in various departments, reconciles their budgets through these transfer of funds. Emergency designation has been requested. It's necessary to transfer the funds among divisions in order to properly align appropriations with projected expenditures and allow those divisions to operate without interruption through the end of the year. Questions or comments from colleagues? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorance, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, President Harden, and I have one in Rec and Parks.
Please.
Ordinance 2805-2022 to authorize the Director of Finance and Management to enter into contract with Orisman Ford of Manassas on behalf of the Rec and Parks Department for the purchase of equipment, to authorize the expenditure of $118,313.73 from the Rec and Parks Voted Bond Fund, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of City Code Chapter 329, and to declare an emergency. The Purchasing Office and Division of Fleet Management continue to experience delays in delivery of new equipment and parts. Unfortunately, the delivery of a chipper truck purchased in the summer of '21 is delayed due to lack of availability of parts from the manufacturer, and it's unknown when the vehicle will be delivered. So this emergency legislation will help the forestry section fulfill the immediate need to purchase a chipper truck because of the increasing number of large work vehicles that are out of commission from breakdowns or unscheduled maintenance that is preventing staff from performing necessary work, including some hazardous tree removals and pruning for the safety of residents. So for this reason, the bid waiver is being requested. Orisman Ford of Manassas was the lowest and most responsive bidder that met specifications. The existing truck, chipper truck that this new one will replace is 16 years old and will be retired from the fleet when forestry is able to get more trucks, more chipper trucks in service. Questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorance, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
And I have no further legislation.
The next committee to come before council is the Public Utilities Committee chaired by Councilmember Dorance. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Council President. Tonight in Public Utilities, we have ordinance 2784-2022 to authorize the Director of Public Utilities to enter a construction contract with Kokosing Construction Company, Inc. for the Rickenbacker Intermodal Sanitary Extension Project to authorize the appropriation and transfer of $6,656,261.53 from the Sanitary Sewer Reserve Fund to Ohio Water Development Loan Fund to authorize the appropriation and expenditure of $6,656,261.53 from the Ohio Water Development Loan Fund to authorize expenditure of up to $2,000 for prevailing wage services to be paid to the Department of Public Services when the Sanitary General Obligation Voted Bond Fund to amend Ordinance 2459-2021, which authorized the Department of Public Utilities to apply and accept loan funding from the Water Pollution Control Loan Fund in order to increase the maximum dollar amount of this project loan award not to exceed up to $6,656,261.53, and to amend the 2022 capital improvement budget. This project will provide city sanitary sewer service to a quickly developing service area and remove a pump station from our system while increasing the water quality by eliminating potential groundwater pollution and also lowering the city's operation and maintenance costs. In addition, this will also increase sewer revenues, creating additional industrial commercial development and new jobs within this planning area. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorance, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, I have ordinance 2920-2022 to authorize the Finance and Management Director to associate all general budget reservations resulting from this ordinance with the appropriate universal term contract purchase agreements from the purchase of transformers from the Division of Power, and to authorize the expenditure of $1,400,000 from the Electricity Operating Fund and declare an emergency. These purchase agreements will be used in the Division of Power's electrical distribution system to serve new and existing customers, as well as replenish stock for maintenance of existing infrastructure. The Department of Public Utilities is respectfully requesting this legislation to be considered as an emergency ordinance to ensure that enough transformers are on hand for our distribution system. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorance, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. And Council President, with your permission, I'd like to move on to the Criminal Justice Committee, which I am chairing this evening in Councilmember
Please.
Favor's absence.
Please.
Thank you. We have ordinance 2616-2022 to authorize the municipal clerk of courts to enter in a contract with Karashoff Technology Corporation for the maintenance and support services for the municipal court phone system to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Codes, to authorize the expenditure of $24,338.57 from the municipal court clerk computer fund, to authorize an expenditure of $30,201.77 from the Franklin County Municipal Court Computer Fund, and declare an emergency. This legislation authorized Franklin County Municipal Court Clerk to enter into a one-year contract with Karashoff Technology Corporation for the maintenance and support services for customer interaction center phone system for both the municipal court and the clerk's office. Genesee Telecommunication Laboratories is the proprietary source of the CIC system for the municipal court. Genesis contract with Karashoff to provide supportability for the CIC system, and since the municipal clerk of court has Genesee certified engineers on staff, the municipal court is positioned to offset some of the costs necessary for the CIC system modular upgrades by performing them in-house. Therefore, the municipal clerk of court respectfully requests to waive the competitive bidding provisions of Chapter 329 of the Columbus City Codes. Do my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorance, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. And lastly, we have ordinance 3113-2022 to authorize and direct the city attorney to settle a lawsuit known as Brandy Miller v. City of Columbus, et cetera, all pending in the Franklin County Court of Common Pleas, to authorize the transfer and expenditure of the sum of $125,000.00 from the general fund and in a settlement of this lawsuit, and declare an emergency. To speak about this ordinance, Columbus City Attorney, Deputy Chief of Staff Brian Shim is here and will discuss the case. Mr. Shim?
Thank you, Chair Dorance, President Harden, members of council. This lawsuit arose out of an automobile accident involving a Columbus police vehicle and 3 other vehicles. The plaintiff, Ms. Miller, suffered serious injuries in the accident. This is not a situation in which the city is immune from liability. We recommend that it's in the best interest of the city to resolve this lawsuit by a settlement, and we believe the amount is reasonable under the circumstances. The Department of Public Safety agrees and has approved the settlement amount, and therefore we would ask you to please approve, and I'm happy to answer any questions.
Do my colleagues have any questions for the city attorney's office? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President. All I have at this time.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Next committee coming for council is the Health and Human Services Committee, chaired by Second Chair Rosa de Padilla. Chair, the floor
Thank you,
is
Council
yours.
President. I have two ordinances today, Health and Human Services. Ordinance 2349, 2022, I should have brought my glasses down, to authorize the Board of Health to enter into a contract with Equitas Health, modify the contract if portions of previously appropriated and encumbered funds are unused, and reallocate unused funds by entering into contracts with newly identified and qualified vendors without the need for additional legislation for the Ryan White Part A HIV Care Grant Program for the provision of services allowable under the grant for persons with HIV or AIDS in Central Ohio, to authorize the expenditure of $477,966.50 from the Health Department Grants Fund to pay the cost thereof, to waive the competitive bidding provisions of the Columbus City Codes, and to declare an emergency. Columbus Public Health receives funding for the Ryan White Part A HIV Care Grant Program from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services, Health Resources and Services Administration. The purpose of this grant is to improve access to quality medical care for persons with HIV or AIDS living in Central Ohio. The goal is that each client will achieve viral suppression, which improves their quality of life and reduces the risk of spreading the infection. In 2020, the RWPA program for Central Ohio served 2,397 people living with HIV through programs including outpatient, ambulatory medical care, mental health services, medical case management, early intervention services, housing services, non-medical case management, emergency financial assistance, and medical transportation. This ordinance authorizes the Board of Health to enter into, and if needed, modify contracts with Equitas Health to provide HIV-related SOMIAC and outpatient ambulatory medical care, early intervention services, medical and non-medical case management services, medical transportation, mental health services, housing, emergency financial assistance, and any other service allowable under the grant. This ordinance is submitted as an emergency in order to ensure that quality medical care continues to be available to eligible persons living with HIV/AIDS and to ensure timely payments to providers. Sorry. I now move for adoption.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next ordinance, 3035, 2022, to authorize the Director of Development to enter into a grant agreement in the amount of up to $2 million with Alvis Incorporated to advance the planning, design, and construction of additional space to continue providing residential reentry space, treatment, and services, to authorize the reimbursement of expenses incurred prior to the purchase order, to authorize the expenditure of up to $2 million, and to declare an emergency. This legislation authorizes the Director of the Department of Development to enter into a grant agreement in an amount of up to $2 million with the Alvis Incorporated nonprofit corporation to advance the planning, design, and construction of additional space to continue providing residential reentry space, treatment, and services. This is the first contribution of a 2-year capital commitment totaling $3.5 million. Alvis offers comprehensive human services to meet the needs of some of our most vulnerable members of our community. They currently operate 6 residential reentry centers, 4 outpatient centers, and 1 administrative office building. They're looking to expand the Alum Creek facility to construct and connect a 2-story building on adjacent land. The projected cost of the project is $25 million. Once completed, the additional facility space will enable them to increase their capacity to serve residents from 280 to 350. Emergency action is requested to begin reimbursing Alvis Incorporated for expenses incurred as a result of the increased demand for services. How'd I do? Good? There we go. Now I move for adoption.
Second.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy. President Harden.
Perfect. That is all for me.
Pass.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. The next committee coming for council is the Environment Committee, chaired by Councilman Remy. Councilman, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Council President Harden. Tonight I have Ordinance 2976, 2022, to authorize and direct the city auditor to set up a certificate in the amount of $1,945,483 for the purchase of equipment for the Division of Refuse Collection, to authorize and direct the Director of Public Service and the Director of Finance and Management on behalf of the Division of Refuse Collection to enter into various contracts for the purchase of equipment, to authorize the expenditure of $1,945,483 from the Division of Refuse Collection General Fund, and to declare an emergency. This ordinance will set up all of the funding required to enter into contracts with the vendors on an as-needed basis. Competitive bids will be solicited and opened by the Division of Refuse Collection and Purchasing Office, or obtained through current, pending, or future universal term contracts established by Finance and Management. Are there any questions or comments from my colleagues this evening? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy. President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President. May I proceed to the
Please.
Administration Committee? Tonight I have Ordinance 2965, 2022, to authorize the city auditor to transfer funds within the general fund from the Department of Finance and Management, Division of Financial Management, to the Department of Human Resources General Fund, to allow the Human Resources Director to fund a comprehensive compensation study and purchase labor relations cost modeling software, to authorize the city auditor to set up a certificate in the amount of $400,000 for these projects, and to declare an emergency. This ordinance authorizes the city auditor to transfer $400,000 within the general fund from the Department of Finance and Management, Division of Financial Management, to the Department of Human Resources. Project 1 will be to contract with a consultant to complete a comprehensive compensation study in which all 660 job classifications within the city will be reviewed and analyzed. The overarching goal is to retain and attract the best employees of the city to the city. To accomplish this goal, it is necessary to assess how competitive the city is in the market and make results-based corresponding and appropriate changes. This is estimated to cost $250,000. Project 2 is the purchase of labor relations costing software. This software will be used by both the Human Resources Department and the Finance and Management Department to cost out various proposals exchanged by the city and unions during labor negotiations. This will provide a real-time assessment of total cost for any proposal to modify compensation and benefits for any union or employee group. This software automation aims to increase the efficiency of cost forecasting and take human error out of the equation. This is estimated to cost $150,000. Separate RFPs will be bid for each project. The department's goal is to bid both of these projects in 2022 and assess and score proposals from vendors as soon as they are back. After proposals have been accepted, the Human Resources Department will submit ordinances seeking council authorization to enter into contracts. Director Brandon, do you have any additional comments this evening? Did I just say it all?
Let me try to turn this on. Good evening, President Harden and Chairman Remy. Yes, you covered it all, unless there are any questions, but you did hit it. It is important that we do this comprehensive study because as many employers are experiencing difficulties hiring, salary is one issue, but we've come to find out that we really need to take a look at the total rewards and make sure that all of our benefits are reviewed and compared across the market to ensure that we are offering the best in order to retain and recruit the best. And as you mentioned, the cost labor model is necessary, especially as we enter into negotiations with multiple unions. It will allow us to be more efficient and to do that in a quicker way and, like you said, avoid human error. So we appreciate Finance and Management partnering with us. I appreciate you and your consideration of this. But if you have any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
Thank you, Director Brandon. I'm particularly excited about this legislation because we have got to come to terms with the fact that being in a post-pandemic work environment and a very hyper-competitive work environment, the city needs to attract and retain people. Otherwise, we're not going to be able to pick up trash, fill potholes, or protect our citizens. And so this is just one step of many that we need to take, moving forward, but excited to have this study done so that we can be a competitive employer and a top 10 employer for the city of Columbus. Are any of my colleagues have any questions or comments this evening?
No, I would just say thank you for your leadership. I know that in private conversations, Councilman Remy, as chair of administration, has really pushed this council, thus the city, to really think outside the box and really understand, to your point, that things are different in the workforce now. And we're going to have to be competitive, we're going to be thoughtful, and we're going to have to be strategic about how we attract and retain a talented workforce. So I think this is right in step with this. So thank you for your leadership, too. Thank you, Director.
Yeah, thanks, Director. We appreciate it. All right. If there are no further questions or comments, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorance, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. That is all I have at my committees this evening.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. We need to go back to the Criminal Justice Committee in Ordinance 3113-2022. I'm turning back over to Councilmember Dorance.
Thank you, Council President. Knew that was too easy. I would like to move for reconsideration of Ordinance 3113-2022.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorance, Remy, President Harden.
Reconsider.
In this ordinance is to authorize and direct the city attorney to settle a lawsuit known as Brandy E. Miller, the City of Columbus et al., pending the Franklin County Court of Common Pleas to authorize the transfer expenditure of the sum of up to $125,000.00 from the general fund in a settlement of a lawsuit and declared emergency. We heard the facts of the case in the city attorney's office, so I'm assuming none of my colleagues need an additional presentation, but we do need to amend as submitted to the clerk.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorance, Remy, President Harden.
Amended.
And finally, I'd like to move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorance, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President. All I have right now.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Sir, seeing no further business coming before council, is there a motion to adjourn? Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorance, Remy, President Harden.
The meeting is adjourned. We have two non-agenda speakers. The first speaker is Mr. Nate Wilkins.
amadoda endwaziyo shuthi amandujiyani la enza zonke izinto zinikhuba amadoda endwaziyo shuthi amandujiyani la enza zonke izinto zinikhuba amadoda endwaziyo shuthi amandujiyani la enza zonke izinto zinikhuba amadoda endwaziyo shuthi amandujiyani la enza zonke izinto zinikhuba amadoda endwaziyo shuthi amandujiyani la enza zonke izinto zinikhuba engalunganga
Regular meeting number 54 will now come to order. Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Can I get a motion to dispense with the reading of the journal? Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Are there any additions or corrections to the journal? Hearing none, the journal is approved. We'll now go to the zoning committee. Councilmember Doran chairs the committee. All members serve on it. Councilmember, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Councilmember Harden. Before beginning tonight's zoning agenda, allow me to briefly explain our current rules pertaining to speaking before council on rezonings and variances. We'll only hear a staff presentation for ordinances that have a disapproval from a recommending body, or if you have a public speaker signed up to speak against an ordinance. Tonight, we have 0 public speaker slips for our agenda. All speakers on council variances, including city staff, area commissioners, applicants, and members of the public, will need to be sworn in before they give testimony. Representatives of an area commission and applicants are always able to speak on an ordinance. They do not need to fill out a speaker slip. On the advice of the city attorney's office, I will now swear in city staff. Please stand and raise your right hand. Do you swear or affirm the testimony you're about to give shall be the truth and nothing but the truth, as you shall answer the pains or penalties of perjury? If so, please say I do. Thank you. Please let the record reflect that Kelsey Preby from the Department of Building and Zoning Services and Daniel Bleschmidt from the Department of Public Service have been sworn in. First, we have rezoning 2953-2022 to rezone 1333 Edge Hill Road, being 3.91 plus acres located on the west side of Edge Hill Road, 275 plus feet south of West Fifth Avenue from M Manufacturing District to AR3 Apartment Residential District. The applicant is Goodwill Industries of Central Ohio, care of Dave Perry, agent. Proposed use is a multi-unit residential development. City's Department recommendations approval. The Development Commission's recommendation is approval. Fifth by Northwest Area Commission's recommendation is also approval. Do any of my colleagues have any questions or comments? Seeing none, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 2638-2022 to rezone 155 Park Road, being .46 plus acres located on the south side of Park Road, 900 plus feet east of Flint Road from R Rural District to ARLD Apartment Residential District. The applicant is Christopher Jacobs, care of Craig Moncrief, attorney. Proposed use is a residential development. City's Department recommendation is approval. Development Commission recommendation is approval. Far North Columbus Communities Coalition recommendation is disapproval with a 4-4 vote. So it's tied, but a tie vote has a record of disapproval. Due to that disapproval, we will now have a staff presentation. Ms. Preby, floor is yours.
The site, which recently underwent annexation from Sharon Township, consists of 2 parcels and is developed with a single unit dwelling. The applicant is requesting the ARLD Apartment Residential District to permit a residential development. The site is located within the boundaries of the Far North Area Plan, which recommends community mixed-use land uses at this location. The proposal is consistent with the plan's land use recommendations and is compatible with the development standards of adjacent residential development. Therefore, City Department's recommendation is for approval, and I'd be happy to answer any questions.
Thank you. Do my colleagues have any questions for the department? Seeing none, I had an opportunity to speak with members of the Far North Columbus Community Coalition. Again, this was a 4-4 tie. Based upon that conversation and sort of considering all the elements, especially the adherence to the area plan and sort of a adjacent development within the area being very similar to what has been proposed here, I felt comfortable bringing this legislation forward here tonight. So do want to pause and see if any of my colleagues have any questions or comments at this time. Seeing none, I move for passage.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you. We now have ordinance 2952-2022 to grant a variance provisions of section 3332.035 R3 Residential District, 3332.05 AR4 Area District Lot Width Requirements, 3332.1.13 R Area District Requirements of Columbus City Codes for property located at 1442 Franklin Avenue to permit a 4-unit dwelling with reduced development standards in the R3 Residential District. The applicant is Colin Carter, care of David Kaluji, attorney. Proposed use is a 4-unit dwelling. City's Department recommendation is approval. Near East Area Commission's recommendation is also approval. I first move to accept the entire staff report and do evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Accept it.
Thank you. I now move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the roll.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Adopt it.
And finally, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Next, we have ordinance 2954-2022 to grant a variance provisions of section 3333.03, AR3 apartment residential district use, 3309.14, height districts, 3312.25 maneuvering, 3333.15C, basis of computing area, 3333.18 building lines, 3333.24 rear yard, 3372.604 setback requirements, 3372.605D building design standards of the Columbus City Codes for the property located at 1333 Edge Hill Road to permit a non-accessory parking use in the AR3 apartment residential district and reduced development standards in the AR3 apartment residential district and M manufacturing district for mixed-use development. The applicant is Goodwill Industries of Central Ohio, care of Dave Perry Agent. Proposed use is a mixed-use development. City's Department recommendation is approval. Fifth by Northwest Area Commission's recommendation is also approval. I first move to accept the entire staff report and new evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Accept it.
Next, I move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Adopt it.
And finally, move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Next, we have ordinance 2998-2022 to grant a variance provisions of section 3332.035 R3 Residential District, 3332.27 rear yard of the Columbus City Codes to the property located at 1223 East Rich Street to permit a 2-unit dwelling and a 5-unit apartment building on the same lot with a shared rear yard in the R3 Residential District. Due to a late amendment request, I've moved to postpone consideration of this legislation to our next zoning committee meeting on Monday, November 21st, 2022.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Postponed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 2999-2022 to grant variance provisions of section 3332.035 R3 residential districts, 3332.21 building lines, Columbus City Codes, to the property located at 1129 East Rich Street to permit a 4-unit dwelling with reduced building line in the R3 residential district. Same as previous ordinance. Due to the late notice, I move to postpone consideration of this legislation to our next zoning committee on Monday, November 21st, 2022.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Postponed.
Thank you. Next, we have ordinance 2639-2022 to grant a variance provisions of section 3312.21 D1 landscaping and screening and 3333.18 building lines of the Columbus City Codes to the property located at 155 Park Road to permit reduced development standards for an 8-unit apartment building in the ARLD apartment residential district. And the applicant is Christopher Jacobs, care of Craig Moncrief Attorney. Proposed use of the 8-unit apartment building. City's Department recommendation is approval. Far North Columbus Communities Coalition is disapproval 4-4. This is the companion piece of legislation to ordinance 2638 that this council passed earlier on our agenda. Do any of my colleagues have any additional questions or comments on this legislation? Seeing none, I first move to accept the entire staff report into evidence as an exhibit.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Accept it.
Thank you. I next move to adopt the findings of staff as the findings of council.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Adopt it.
And finally, I move for passage.
Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Passed.
Thank you, Council President. That's all we have on our zoning agenda this evening.
See no further business come before council. Is there a motion to adjourn? Clerk, please call the row.
Bangston, Barosa de Padilla, Brown, Dorans, Remy, President Harden.
Passed. Are adjourned.